Okay there, folks. It's 2 p.m. PC Twitch stream. I'm your host, Strange Bro Jim. Today we are going to be getting into Agile development best practices from Pega. Um, so, um, just want to give everybody a little heads up here. My mind is kind of, after yesterday, I've been having a little bit of a rough time with my mind. Um, so, um, it was kind of a rough stream yesterday, so I'm a little, I don't know, I'm feeling a little off today. Um, but I mean, I still want to continue streaming. I still want to continue these videos, so I don't, um, stop, so I don't, you know, um, get off track. So, um, so here we are. Now, um, for those of you that are watching these on YouTube and you've been watching uh, my previous videos, then you can probably go ahead and skip ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and give my basic rundown again, like I normally do, just so um, any new viewers will understand where I'm coming from. Um, for those of you that are brand new to the channel, either by um, watching this currently on Twitch right now, or um, you are, um, um, or if you're like, watching this video and somehow skipping the others that I have, just bear in mind that, this is not endorsed by Pega whatsoever. Okay. I don't have like Pega's approval for doing these kind of videos or anything along those lines. This is for my own support. This is for my own development, my own progression, because I'm working on trying to get the system architect certification. My past training didn't really help me out very much in that regard. So much that me and a lot of my other um, batchmates that was part of the team, part of the training session, were pretty much doing their own self-study. The trainer wasn't really that great for us. Now, I will state that, this was a company training. So, um, you know, while the gentleman did say that he was an authorized training partner, um, we had some difficulties with him. Now, um, is that going to be the same for all the trainers? I doubt it. Because there were actually some other, you know, authorized training partners that were able to answer our questions when we asked when we asked them. So, if you want instructor-led training, then go ahead and do so. Um, it is expensive in my viewpoint, um, but um, if you can afford it, and um, if you can get a job from it, then I mean you're gonna be making a lot more than the initial payment anyway. So, it's you know one would hope that the end justifies the means, right? Um, but you know, you'll have to consider that, on your own. Okay. I personally can't afford it right now, so I'm not gonna even bother trying. Plus, as I've mentioned before, I was trained, in Pega before, so it's not like I'm um, completely new to what we're going through. Okay. Um, plus I had some work afterwards. Um, so I'm not exactly a newbie to this, but at the same time, please don't consider me an instructor. Okay. Don't consider me someone that has years of experience with Pega or um, knows every little nook and cranny of Pega. I don't. Sorry, that's just not me right now. I would hope that uh, people from Pega, trainers, um, professionals, look on these videos and maybe answer some of the questions that I have. Feel free to supply questions in the comments, and either myself or maybe someone else will come by and answer said question for you. Or, if you find an answer yourself, feel free to supply it. That's, you know, I'm trying to keep these very open for anybody to come on in and help out. Okay. So, um, now, yes, I'm working on the system in the business as well. That we're going to be we are going to be focusing on then there's two modules specific business after this, the building extension. So we'll cover those so that if anybody wants to, work on the business architect, they can stop right there. If that's as far as they want to go. If you want to go even further to the system architect, then then we'll continue on from there. At least that's the plan. I've had a lot of calls lately from my last past job. So things are starting to pick up again. It's very odd. But I'll try to do these as long as I can. Um, Obviously, if I start work back up again, then my schedule is going to have to change accordingly because obviously I can't do these uh, these daily streams. So, um, but we'll pass that bridge when we get to it, right? All right. We'll go over that bridge, right? So let's get into the topic at hand, right? So agile development best practices. So best practices for agile development and release management. Agile development supports a customer's need to update the firmware product data as business needs change. Incorporating agile methodology in application development enables frequent changes and ensures that those changes work as expected. Uh, you see that a lot nowadays. Um, you know, Especially when it comes to gaming. And unfortunately, there's been a lot of backlash on uh, on game development as well, um, because there's been many games where they off the moon in their initial release, say, hey, this game is going to have this to their, statements, right? Um, saw that with, what's the name? It's the space exploration over the world, mining. Oh gosh, I'm blanking on the name. No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky really got hit really hard because you know everything that they showed, everything that they were kind of talking about, when they were showing, hey, this is our game, this is what you'll be doing, this is what you'll be seeing. It was all pretty much fluff when they mentioned it, and when they released it, it basically had none of the well, I mean, not none, but I mean, it lacked a lot of, what they had mentioned. So needless to say, it got hit really, really hard when it was, officially released, right? Um, but since then, they've made a lot of progress. Now, from what I understand, they've gotten to a point where they have satisfied all those requirements that they mentioned. The problem was that by the time they released up until now, um, they got hit with a lot of backlash on that. I've been seeing a little bit of controversy over the latest game out there. Hogwarts Legacy a bit, about how it's kind of glitchy and problematic at, at certain spots. And, that's getting hit a little bit. Although, from what I understand, you know, uh, everything that everybody's been kind of talking about it, aside from the controversy, um, it's been getting some pretty good praise. Okay, so does the price of the game justify its release? Some people would say yes. Um, uh, No Man's Sky, a lot of people would have said no back then. Now, if you purchase it now, then it might, you might have a justification for the price. So, but No Man's Sky had a lot of frequent changes to, and ensures that those changes work as expected since then, right? Um, so yeah, Pega platform includes best practices for agile development, including real-time updates, frequent development iterations that are small in scope, testing, continuous application validation to identify and address issues early, and branches, concurrent team development environment to maximize productivity. Um, and I would hope that they would kind of go over those a little bit. Doesn't look like it. Oh well. They don't really cover each one of these, but hopefully they explain enough so that you understand it. Um, if you want me to, I can try to explain each one of these a little bit more myself. Uh, so, uh, you know, let me do that anyway. I mean, there's not a ton here anyway, so let me kind of cover it. So, real-time updates. So, say that you have, um, you know, you already built the application, but you need to change something. Like maybe you need a new field or something along those lines. You you get that request, you put in that, you know, you put in those changes, you test it, and then you can send it out into production. Okay, so that, you know, so while, uh, you know, there's very little um, downtime between, you know, what was needed and what was released. You know, and those, you know, like adding a new field is very small. You don't necessarily need to worry about, you know, having a grand new test case for something like that, right? So, uh, so that's what it kind of means by the real-time updates. You know, uh, you're building, you know, smaller, uh, you know, development iterations to handle, you know, any business need change. You know, so testing. So, um, you know, allows you to, you know, test any new real-time updates that you create so that, um, you know, it does what you want it to do. Okay, so, you know, that new field in there, you know, does it, you know, can you actually put in, you know, the words or numbers or, you know, whatever you need in there? You know, is it doing what it needs to do? Or are you storing it properly? Um, you know, does it display properly? You know, that kind of thing. So, you wanna make sure that, you know, what business needs at the end is what what you're making, right? And that's what testing is kind of all about. It's meant to, you know, check what you built and make sure that it's doing what it needs to. Okay. Uh, you know, is the end product that the business gave you the same as what you are supplying? Okay. If it's not, then obviously you might need to readjust because, or you're gonna have to let business know that, sorry, we can't, you know, do this exactly the way you want it to, which probably won't be that smart, you know, because I mean, any business team that knows what they're doing, you know, maybe they want it looking you know, in a certain fashion. Maybe they need it organized in a certain fashion to try to, you know, have the customer's viewpoint, you know, focus in on something, right? And if the developer, um, like, hey, you know, we want something flashy on like the upper right portion of the screen so we can advertise, right? So we're going to need you to add these graphics up here in the upper right. And um, if the dev team goes, okay, it looks terrible up there. I'm going to put it in the lower left, but I'm still going to have the advertisements in the upper right. That goes against what the business wants, right? So, you know, so be careful there. And then, of course, branches. So, um, if you have a large application, okay, and you have multiple teams working on different parts of that application, okay, then um, then if you need to add something new in there, but you don't want to like break um, like the original application, like say you have let me try to explain this a little bit. So let's say, you know, you have some sunglasses, right? Um, and you know, you want the sunglasses to remain the same, right? You don't want to be like, oh hey, we need to add, a new, um, we're gonna add in a new portion to the to the sunglasses. So we're gonna break this off. Well, what happens to the rest of your application? Okay, it's no longer functioning as well as it needs to, right? Um, so what happens is that you still have the application. What you're doing is you're creating what's called a branch, you know, something kind of separate from that. That basically says, okay, we're gonna kind of take a copy of the sunglass over here to the branch in a way. We're gonna rip off this, this portion here, get rid of it, put, what we're thinking of building into it, and making sure that it's working properly, you know, with the original application, right? And um, if everything is working properly over here, and it's working perfectly fine, you have brand new sunglasses with, different features or something like that, right? Then you can take that branch and move it back into production so that um, so that all the customers and everybody that uses it isn't necessarily over like majorly affected by that change. Okay, um, they're using the old product for a while, the old application for a while, and then the new product comes in with the new features, and you can kind of slowly get rid of the old product, and now everybody's using the new product now, right? So, um, so that's what branches is kind of meant to do. So, alright, an agile development approach provides continuous, iterative application development based on small scope business requirements. When business requirements change, you make smaller, more frequent updates. For example, you add a chatbot based on feedback or fix a bug in the user interface. So, those are um, small scope business requirements. You're fixing a bug. It's very small scope. Now, if you're adding in an entirely new feature into it, that requires a little bit more. Um, that requires more of a process, and you can still do that in the agile development. You're just going to break down that large scale workload, going into your application, and you're breaking them down into smaller and smaller chunks so that you know you're you make small changes over time for that new large requirement, and then you can add it into the application afterwards. So, hence the reason of using, you know, branches to really maximize your productivity. To learn more about Agile items such as feedback, user stories, and bugs, see Agile Workbench. Okay, so DevOps turns the integration between development teams, test teams, and post-go live support teams to take the Agile process further. DevOps teams work across the application lifecycle to provide a more automated build, streamlining how you configure, validate, deploy, and deliver an application. To learn more, see DevOps. Can you specify what that's all about? What exactly are you going to be covering in this other page? In the following image, click the plus icons to learn more about Agile development best practices. Okay, so real-time updates include testing. A goal of DevOps is to have production environment changes triggered from a lower environment for example, the development environment to the production environment. In Agile methodology, automated release management streamlines the release process, monitoring all the stages of testing and deployment. Continuous testing. Continuous test your application to identify issues early. Continuous integration, CI, and continuous delivery are the key cornerstones of DevOps. Continuous integration, CI, allows you to regularly merge code changes into a central repository to facilitate automated build and test runs. This process helps you find and address bugs more quickly, improve software quality, and reduce the time to validate and release new code. Continuous delivery. Code changes are automatically built, tested, and prepared for potential release to production. Continuous delivery passes code changes through a standardized and automated testing process. Then deploy all changes to a testing environment. Code can then be prompted to a production environment or staging environment in preparation for release from the testing environment. One would hope that you're you're promoting your code to a staging environment first before you go to the production environment. Because from the testing environment to the production environment, it's like, you know, so, you know, from my understanding, the staging environment is basically, you know, the environment where, you know, business steps in and tests everything out. Okay, you have the development environment where it's just the devs, you know, building the product, and the business analysts as well, maybe, you know, working there. Then you have the testing environment where it's just, you know, the QA team making sure that, you know, what was built is doing exactly what needs to be done, or, you know, it's outputting what it needs to output. It's, you know, taking all the correct input. You know, they're making sure that what was added doesn't necessarily break the entire application. And if they're doing their job correctly, they're going to try to break what was newly added. Okay, they will find, you know, the problems with it, and they will attempt to break what was given. Okay, that's what the testing environment is supposed to be all about. The staging environment is where it's not, you know, completely released to, you know, everybody. Okay, it's meant for, you know, kind of the you know, everybody else to kind of, you know, everybody else within the company looking in on the changes and making sure that it's, you know, working the way it needs to. Okay, sometimes you know, you see it in gaming, right? You know, you have the development, you have the testing, you know, the QA team trying to test out everything that was made. Okay, and then you have the release of the game, right? Well, sometimes you want to kind of send the game out early to see what others think of it. Like, you want to send, you know, you want to send the game out. You know, when you want to make sure that, you know, you get the alpha and beta kind of done. Still might be still in beta, to make sure that you're still kind of handling all the really hard to find bugs. and you're still trying to work on them, but you send it out to, the majority of the game, the game application already works, right? But you send it out and you see how many other people might encounter something else, something different, something that the devs and the QA team might have missed. Okay, and let's face it, it happens. Um, I remember working on, um, I was working on one game that I was part of, right? Um, and we were trying to design a method where uh, it will show you where to go for the next quest, next part of the storyline, right? Basically, it was meant for very young kids, okay? Um, you know, Toddlers and the like, okay? Um, so we needed an easy system to kind of help them know where to go, okay? Well, then I was like going, okay, well, um, you know, uh, I was making those necessary changes with the president at the time, and I thought to myself, well, let me go somewhere else. Let me not follow the path and see what happens. So I go to another portion of the map, and suddenly the pathing that we were building was like going up into the sky or going down through the world, right? Because our maps were kind of placed all over, you know, um, the 3D space. Um, but obviously, the pathing didn't really understand how to handle that, right? Um, so, I informed the president that, hey, our path is going off in the sky or going down underneath, you know. So we adjusted it, so that the path would, go back um, to the entrance or the doorway that we passed through, right? And it would end right there. It would stop right there. So letting the person know that, hey, you have to return back to the doorway that you just came through to get back to the right path, where you need to go. So if it wasn't for me testing it out to make sure that, you know, it functions the way it did, and we released it, without testing that out, then a lot of kids would be very confused as to why is the pathing going up into the sky or going down through the ground. It's like, oops, you know, we can't really have that happen, right? You know, um, but I mean, if you don't have like a huge, testing team or anything along those lines to figure it out, then um, um, sometimes you need to rely on um, those that are willing to go through beta testing, to test out the product, make sure that it's working the way it needs to. So, um, so in a sense, that's kind of what the staging environment is a little bit more. They can help out on producing even more bugs. They might look at something and go, "Wait, this isn't working the way we asked you to build it." And then, after all that is done, then you can send it off to the production, you know, and now it's released to everybody. So, application quality. Use the application quality dashboard to continuously monitor application quality. Developing in branches helps to ensure that only quality configurations are introduced. DevOps breaks down the silos in development, quality assurance, and system operation teams. Alright, that's it for that. Got 10 more minutes here. Oops, I've been talking quite a bit. Alright, Pega Express best practices. Pega Express delivery is an agile methodology tailored to application development using Pega platform. It consists of 4 phases designed to support agile best practices in low-code application development. Agile best practice examples by Pega Express phase include discovery, define your business outcomes, and create a day 1 go-live plan. Prepare, host a design sprint with end users to build a working prototype. Build, build an application based on user stories in the backlog. Adopt, once your application goes live, conduct a release retrospective. To learn more about how Pega supports Agile Scrum, see Scrum with Pega Express using Scrum to maximize effect with Pega Express. Facilitate using the Pega Express delivering methodology, and to access downloadable resources to support your Agile project, refer to the Pega Express toolkit. Team members pursuing a badge may wish to complete the Pega Express delivery mission in Pega Academy. CI/CD best practices. The CI/CD pipeline models are 2 key stages of software delivery: continuous integration and continuous delivery. Continuous integration. In the continuous integration stage, developers continuously validate and merge branches into a target application. During continuous integration, maintain these best practices. Test early and often. For example, identify issues early by running Pega unit tests and critical integration tests before packaging the application. If tests fail, stop the release pipeline until the issue is fixed. Automate. For example, trigger mergers and builds by using the deployment manager. Update rules. For example, keep the product rule and the product reference in an application pipeline up to date. Maintain version history. Publish and exported application archives into a repository to maintain a version history of deployable applications. Continuous delivery. In a continuous delivery stage, the target application is packaged and moved through progressive stages in the pipeline. After application changes have moved through testing cycles, Pega unit, regression, performance, and load testing, you deploy application packages to a production system. In Pega platform, you deploy changes manually or automatically. Follow these continuous delivery best practices to ensure application quality. Create test environments. Use Docker or similar tool to create test environments for user acceptance tests, UAT, and exploratory tests. Conduct regression tests. Create a wide variety of regression tests through the user interface and service layer. Use version control. Define target rule set versions for production deployment. Employ a rollback strategy. If a test fails, rollback the latest import. Document. If all the tests pass, anoint the application package to indicate that it is ready to be deployed. Deployment can be performed manually or automatically. To learn more about using systems that support the CI/CD pipeline, see Understanding Systems in the Deployment Manager, CI/CD pipeline. What's given here is quite a lot, and I would imagine that you're probably going to want to really go over this a bit to really understand, like the difference between the two, and, like if they say, Does maintain version history fall under continuous integration or continuous delivery? You're going to need to know that. So, now if you understand what it's meant to say, or if you understand what it is, then it's obviously a little bit easier. But um, yeah, some of these might be a little deceptive too, because you would think automate is very deceptive in that you can potentially automate what you want to do in uh, in continuous delivery too, right? Um, Even though it's not really there, but I mean automatically, you know. So so be careful. Be careful with this. Okay. Which two statements are true about agile development and automated release management? Continuous integration allows you to regularly merge code changes into a central repository to facilitate automated builds and test runs. Yeah, sure. With continuous integration, code changes are automatically built and released in production. No, that falls more on continuous delivery. So that's true. DevOps involves both business and team members in continuous integration and delivery. I mean, sure. While delivering projects, your first priority is to deliver the change as quickly as possible to production environments. That's not the first priority, or at least I don't think that's true. So I'm feeling both of those. Yeah. Because, deliver the change as quickly as possible, you could be getting stuck on this, and you could be introducing more problems, trying to get something out as quickly as you can. So that's why this doesn't really work, you know. Um, it's not your first priority to get out the door as quickly as you can. Well, you could be introducing a lot of bugs into the production environment if you're not careful. So, so be careful with that. And code changes are automatically built and released to production. That's more um, that's more delivery than anything else, right? Um, target application is packaged, aka built, um, and moved through progressive stages in the pipeline. After application changes have moved through their testing cycles, you deploy application packages to the production system. So that is more, release to production falls under the continuous delivery. So just bear that in mind. Alright, So that's going to be it for this. We weren't able to get to the module. Um, we got 2 more minutes left, so not going to be able to get to the module quiz today. But we'll be able to do the module quiz tomorrow, and then we'll move on to um, the refining and agile workbench, and that's, according to this, going to be a fairly long one. With 5 tasks in 10 minutes. So we'll see what we can do on that. Hopefully we can get through it all. But it also depends on how long that mod in the testing module is going to be, and the module quiz. So um, there might need to be more uh, discussion there for later. But that's it. That's where we're going to go ahead and close on down for this session of our Pega study. So I'm going to kind of switch on over to just chatting for those of you that are watching on Twitch, and for those of you that are watching on YouTube. Feel free to do all the normal YouTube um, things for, video support. You know, uh, everybody kind of knows what I'm kind of talking about. I mean, unless you're new to YouTube, you know, uh, you know, uh, Matt Pat was saying, hey, just do like one thing, you know, one thing for like the ending. You don't have to go through the whole spiel, you know, uh, because that turns people off. It's like, oh yeah, I agree with that. So, um, so I mean, it makes sense. Um, so, that would really be of help. Um, get these videos out there a little bit more. Let people that are kind of struggling with Pega, see these videos. Plus, I mean, if you want to, you're always welcome to go and check out my other playlists that I have. The other um, code projects that I've done, and the games that I've played. I have a lot of um, games ready to, or a lot of played playlists available. So feel free to check those out. So. Um, so yeah, that's going to be it. So thank you very much for watching, and I'm going to go ahead and start the recording.